started more games for us than anybody last year, the final 7. And we saw improvement in him. Probably is the front runner based on, the way things ended. And they want to know, I'm sure they asked, well, they did. They asked.
Tony Grossi, the same guy who has been absolutely relentless in going after Shedeur Sanders, just pulled a full-blown 180. Yes, that Tony Grossi. The man who couldn't find a single positive word to say about Shedeur is now apologizing and openly accepting him as the Browns' projected starting quarterback for 2026. And here's the crazy part. It all changed the moment Todd Monken walked through the door and publicly backed Shedeur as QB1. This is wild stuff, and we're breaking down exactly how this shift happened. So let's set the stage, because trust me, this is real drama. Tony Grossi has completely flipped his entire narrative on Shedeur Sanders. After watching the chemistry build between Shedeur and the new offensive coordinator Todd Monken, Grossi suddenly drops the anti-Shedeur agenda. He's now out here saying Shedeur Sanders is clearly the frontrunner for the starting quarterback job, and even complimenting how much he's grown over the past year. Pause on that. This is the same Tony Grossi who spent an entire season throwing non-stop shade at Shedeur every chance he got. The same guy questioning his toughness, his commitment, and whether he was even NFL ready. But the moment Todd Monken steps in and shows real belief in Shedeur, suddenly Grossi wants to hop on the train. You can't make this stuff up. And we have to talk about why this matters so much for Shedeur's future in Cleveland. Now, let's rewind, because we're not letting Tony Grossi slide that easily. This man has a documented history of being overly harsh towards Shedeur Sanders, and some of it crossed the line. Remember when Shedeur mentioned having some soreness in his throwing arm during training camp? That's a completely normal thing for any quarterback, especially a rookie adjusting to the speed, intensity, and physical demands of the NFL. But how did Tony Grossi respond? Did he show even a shred of understanding for a young quarterback navigating the transition? Nada. Absolutely not. On live television, Grossi straight up mocked Shedeur Sanders. He made sarcastic remarks, acting like it was shocking or even unacceptable that Shedeur might be sore, especially since he wasn't getting as many reps as other quarterbacks on the roster. Think about that. A young player is being honest about his body, showing awareness and professionalism, and Grossi turns it into ammo to question his character.
Active because he's got a sore arm.
Okay, so you're using that as a negative against the kid?
I don't understand.
Jesus God, would you give him a chance?
Well,
My God,
here's the
because his
thing.
arm's sore?
Yeah.
What, that's a negative? That the kid's got a sore arm?
Yes!
Because he's working too hard? The hell out of it.
Working again, too.
But here's where the story really takes a turn. And this is the exact moment that showed everyone who Shedeur Sanders truly is. Because unlike a lot of young players who would just swallow the criticism and hope their play speaks later, Shedeur chose to confront it head-on. After a preseason game against the Carolina Panthers, something you almost never see actually happened. With cameras rolling and reporters watching, Shedeur Sanders walked straight up to Tony Grossi and addressed him directly. And trust me, this wasn't some low-key private exchange behind the scenes. This was Shedeur planting his feet and asking for accountability. You could see the fire in his eyes and hear the certainty in his voice as he looked Tony dead in the face and asked what everyone else was thinking. "So, Tony, you got anything good to say about me?" And he wasn't done. He kept going, making sure the point landed. "You always got something negative to say about me, even though I've never done anything to you. Why is that?"
Tony, I be hoping you be. Hold on. Tony, I be hoping you got something positive to say about me. You only say negative stuff about me. And I'm like, I ain't do nothing to you.
No, I don't think that.
And even throughout this past season, that same pattern never stopped. Shedeur confronted Grossi multiple times over the non-stop negativity coming his way. Anytime Shedeur's name entered the conversation, Grossi managed to slip in doubt, question his ability, or imply he just wasn't ready or good enough. But this is where Tony Grossi's sudden change of heart starts looking extremely obvious and honestly opportunistic. Even when Shedeur addressed him directly, even when he asked for nothing more than fairness and basic respect, Grossi still couldn't force out a single positive word about the young quarterback. But the second new head coach Todd Monken walks in and openly shows belief and real interest in Shedeur Sanders, suddenly Tony Grossi wants to sing a different tune. All of a sudden, he's ready to hop on the bandwagon. Why? Because he can see exactly which direction this thing is headed now. He knows that with Monken's support and confidence, Shedeur Sanders is lined up to succeed, and Grossi doesn't want history remembering him on the wrong side of it.
Started more games for us than anybody last year, the final 7. And we saw improvement in him.
And we've already seen him make real progress. And speaking of Todd Monken, we have to break down the massive, almost shocking difference in how he's handling Shedeur compared to the old coaching staff. The contrast is so extreme, it's hard to believe it's the same franchise. Under former coach Kevin Stefanski, Shedeur Sanders might as well have been invisible. Stefanski wouldn't even say his name in press conferences. Seriously, reporters would ask straight-up questions about the quarterback the Browns spent a high draft pick on, and Stefanski would dodge, deflect, and serve up the most generic, empty responses you can imagine. It honestly felt like the staff was actively pretending Shedeur didn't exist. But Todd Monken, this is a total 180. We're talking night and day difference here, people. Monken can't stop talking about Shedeur Sanders, and we're barely into day 1 of his tenure. At his very first press conference, he was fired up, enthusiastic, and already breaking down specific plans to leverage Shedeur's unique skill set.
What going in at?
Oh,
yeah.
Hey, hello, young man.
What's up? Good to see you. How you doing? Welcome back to the States.
How we doing, man?
Good.
Yeah, we tried to draft your ass last year. For God's sake. It's all worked out.
Yeah.
You remember that, right?
Yeah, that's what I was about to tell you.
Someday we'll get a chance to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, sit down.
But here's where this story becomes even more.
But here's where this story gets absolutely insane. And this is exactly why you should be fully convinced that Shedeur Sanders is the real deal, and why his success in Cleveland feels almost guaranteed. Todd Monken's interest in Shedeur isn't some last-minute thing. This isn't a scenario where the front office is forcing a quarterback onto a reluctant coach. This isn't Monken being told, "Here's your QB, figure it out." No. Todd Monken has been after Shedeur Sanders for years. Let that sink in. Years. This isn't just a professional interest, it's a deep-rooted relationship and genuine belief in Shedeur's talent that goes way further back than most people realize. When Monken was coaching at Michigan, he was actively recruiting Shedeur Sanders. He wanted him in the Wolverines program. Even back then, before the national spotlight, before the draft hype, before Shedeur was a household name, Monken recognized something special. Before Shedeur was lighting up Colorado, before scouts were analyzing every throw, before analysts debated his NFL readiness, Monken already knew. He saw the arm strength, the decision-making, the calm under pressure, and the natural leadership that makes Shedeur stand out. That says everything you need to know about how seriously Monken views his potential. This is a coach who's believed in this quarterback for years, who's wanted to work with him for years, and who now finally has the chance to develop him at the pro level. So when Tony Grossi suddenly flips his narrative and starts apologizing to Shedeur Sanders, it's not some heartfelt revelation about his talent. It's because even he can see that with Todd Monken's full support, Shedeur is poised to become exactly what the Browns envisioned when they drafted him. The Shedeur Sanders era in Cleveland is officially here, and now even his harshest critics are starting to come around. Drop your thoughts in the comments on Tony Grossi's sudden change of heart, and make sure to subscribe for more NFL updates.